Hopefully Sheree and I will be doing a show a little bit later tonight. Just wanted to give you an update on Mrs. Geo, who's here with me, but she's incapacitated. Well, she's not too incapacitated. She's still, you still have this in your shirt.
Oh, whoops, from yesterday.
Yeah. She just had a rhizotomy yesterday on the back right here, so hopefully this back problem is starting to be addressed, and I will have my life back in full capacity. Or
I can already tell I'm feeling
the best
better.
capacity that I can hope to have.
Aww. So mean. No, I feel better already. I can already tell that this is working, at least partly, to try to get rid of some of this. So I can be with you guys again, because I miss you guys. And
Everybody misses you too.
I know, including you.
Everybody misses you misses me interrupting you constantly.
No, he never interrupts me.
I interrupt you sometimes. I interrupt you when you start to go.
When I start to go off on a tangent, yeah.
I like to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah, I like to
You
go
like
to
to
A
go
to Z to
A,
F
Z,
to...
W, F,
Yep.
Y, N, P,
Yeah.
and then go off into some Greek letters, and then into
some letters that may exist
some Roman
in
numerals,
another world somewhere.
and then finally we'll get back to the point.
Yep.
I do that sometimes too,
That's okay.
as is evident in this video, which is entitled Mr. Pillowman, or the Pillowman Files. There were a couple different titles I was coming up with, but the first one they wouldn't let me put in. Mr. Pillowman,
Bring me a
dream, give me the proof that I've never seen. But it wouldn't let me put that in the title.
Yeah.
And obviously I can't talk about what's what.
The majority of it.
The majority of what's going
Yeah.
on. But I gotta say, I haven't been watching the full Pillowman Files. We'll just call it the Pillowman Files. You can see that at frankspeech.com.
Frankspeech.com.
Is it Frank Speech?
Frankspeech.com.
Like,
Speaking
every
frankly.
time I do a live stream, the freaking thing starts
Like, speaking frankly.
buzzing, and I know it's so annoying for people out there. But like, speaking frankly.
Yeah. Frank Speech.
So frankspeech.com.
Yeah. You got it?
It's always the case, yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to get the pool in the background
Yeah,
too,
we're trying to
'cause
get everything.
Okay,
situated.
so, but anyways, I was expecting him to present the same information that we've seen over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But he came out with a whole new data set
Yeah.
that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that there was massive fuckery going on. Massive fuckery. It was a massive dump. And to this
Yeah,
day,
it
everyone's
was.
trying to figure out, where did it come from? They're going to turn around, and now they're not denying the evidence.
Yeah. They're not saying it's not real.
They're not saying it's not real. They're saying that it was obtained through hacks,
Through illegal methods.
through illegal methods.
Wiretapping.
So, wiretapping, things like that.
Yeah.
So, again, as we saw with Hunter Biden's laptop, they're not disputing the evidence.
Right.
They're not disputing the facts. They're just saying you're not allowed to have that evidence. You're not allowed to have those facts because they were obtained, quote unquote, illegally.
Illegally.
This time, they actually did obtain them, quote unquote, illegally. They hacked into the system and they found everything. Code Monkey was on, at least I didn't see this part, but somebody was telling me about this, who we may have on the show in the next couple days to talk about it in full detail.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do it on our Patreon, patreon.com/btvtribe, but this symposium is several days long.
Yeah.
And this person has been watching every minute of it, taking notes, doing all that. So they're going to come on the show and they're going to give us a breakdown of everything that has been talked about. So you don't have to sit there for 3 days and watch it. We urge you to sit down for 3 days and watch it, though, because it's really, really, really damning evidence, and it's very revealing evidence too. Now, of course, what we're talking about is we're talking about evidence that the grass is green. That's all the evidence we're talking about here. So just for YouTube and everybody, we're talking about the evidence that the grass is green.
And it's getting greener.
And it's getting greener.
Yep.
It's getting greener, and to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from.
Yep.
But they will come on and they will talk about everything from beginning to end, the key points. But what this person was telling me yesterday happened is that Code Monkey actually went in there and was like going through the actual code for the domination software.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just call it the domination software, and was pointing out and saying, here's where they hacked into it here, here's where they injected all of these ballets, here's where they injected this, and here's where they injected that. So they broke it all down.
Ballets.
Well, ballets. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about ballets here, you know? I mean, ballets, you know, it's
With the pliés. And...
with yeah. Ballets that they do on the grass.
Yeah, ballets that they do on the grass.
On the grassy knoll.
On the grassy knoll.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
So they brought a whole new data set.
Yeah.
They were talking about how these ballets should be not only audited, but they should have some kind of fraud protection on them. And they pointed out that money has all these different security features in
Even
them.
dollar bills.
Dollar bills. They have all these different security features in them. They have UV lighting. They have everything. Why do they not have that on the ballets?
On every ballet
On every
in
ballet.
every state.
Would you not? I mean, if they can do that with money,
Yeah.
you know what the cost would be? The cost would be 25 cents
Per ballet.
per ballet to put all of these security measures on them to ensure. They were also talking about how each one will have a custom QR code. So you can scan it and you can see your ballet performance
Yep.
from beginning to end, where it winds
As it's
up,
being counted.
where it's being tabulated, you know, all of that stuff. Why don't we have these already in place
Right.
is the question. But they were talking about moving in that direction. Now, this was somebody who's running for office that was on there speaking about this and saying, and it had to do with the place Machete was filmed. So I'll try not to use. I know that's not a key word, but you know, I think you know the movie Machete and where that took place. So he was talking about that particular geographic location. I guess in the Star Wars universe, it would be Arizonia.
Arizonia.
Arizonia,
Yeah,
and
there
from
you
the
go.
Star Wars universe. They were talking about nullification of everything that happened. They're not talking about reinstatement. They're talking about nullification and nullifying everything, and just saying nope, that's it. They also received an anonymous email. Go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta get up and
Yeah,
start.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
she's her
yeah.
back is burned, her nerves are burned, literally. And I've been having laser tattoo removal, and last time the lady hit me really hard. I've done 5 sessions so far, and here I can show you the progress. As a matter of fact, you see that one? It's lightened up significantly after 5 sessions. Finally, when we did 5, the 6th one, she hit me really hard with it, and I actually started to peel for the first time. So I'm getting these 2 removed because I want to get some Egyptian stuff on them. And I don't know, I mean, you don't have the before pictures, but they were much brighter and fuller colored. All the color's pretty much gone out of here now. This part here is not coming off very easily. But I know what it feels like to be burned, to, you know, just on the skin, because afterwards I was burning pretty bad. I can only imagine what it's like to be burning on the inside. But anyways, back to the point of this video. The point of this video was that when the Pillowman said the possibility of reinstatement, he wasn't fucking around. He wasn't making baseless claims. He has an enormous amount of data that he's presenting. And it's not just him, it's several other people. And this data is indisputable. Indisputable so much so that the only thing the mainstream media and establishment can do is say, nope, that's hacked information, that's not allowed, hacked information. They can't even deny it. They received an email, it was an anonymous email. So you gotta take, you gotta take that for what it is. But the person sent them to him anonymously and said, I was there at the DNC meeting, and they were talking about how they sold 35, or they gave away 35,000 tickets to the ballet, and they were bragging about it. at one of the meetings in Pimatria County. In Pimatria County. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. And obviously nobody can verify if this is true or not. The email did come through, but somebody was there. I wish somebody would have turned on their video recorder and started recording some of this. Because if there was audio evidence or video evidence of this happening, holy shit. I can tell you this firsthand. When Cherie and I were working with the Orange Man's campaign here in our local area, we were invited to a meeting, and we sat down with some of them, and that's how we wound up with autographed, personalized autograph stuff. And you know, every time I do a video, text messages, phone calls, ridiculousness, we got an autographed picture that was personalized to us. We also got Liberal Tears, his son's book, autographed and personalized to us, because we were working with the campaign here in our local area. When we went there, Cherie went to this one particular meeting, and there was somebody there who was part of the other side. They weren't one of us. And we can tell by the way they were presenting themselves, and we can tell by the way that they were asking questions. It was just like on January 6th, when we were doing our live stream, we were able to identify John Sullivan on the spot, and say, that guy doesn't belong, that guy's on the other side. And sure enough, after he was arrested, it turned out that he was on the other side, and that he was there as an antagonist. Not an antagonist on our side who was antagonizing the situation. He was on the other side creating the situation, and it's the classic definition of false, false things that wave in the air. This is fucking absurd the way we gotta talk now. It's fucking absurd. Other things that were presented is the idea that the tech companies, YouTube, Facebook, social media, all of them, they've been censoring speech, as you can tell from this video. They've been doing so through large contributions and contracts by the state, which is very, very, very deep. And all that documentation has come out. And so that's been presented to a judge. And the judge is looking at it going, okay, well, on one hand, they're a private entity. On the other hand, they were doing it on behalf of the U.S. government. So when it's a private entity, there's no First Amendment rights. It's like our BTV chat. We can kick anybody out that we want. And we try not to, but there's some people that just want to come in and just antagonize and disrupt and do all of that. And there was a point when I was just letting anybody speak however they wanted to. But when it came to personally attacking Cherie, myself, and other people in the audience, then I was like, all right, these guys got to go. And now I have like zero tolerance for any bullshit. If anybody's making anybody feel uncomfortable at any point, boom, gone. So I understand that aspect of it. But when these tech giants and social media companies are becoming so large, at some point they cross the line from being a private company and they become a public utility. And realistically, Facebook, YouTube, etc., really should be looked at as a public utility, particularly because of the funding that they received in order to implement the fact-checking, in order to implement the censorship, in order to implement the banning. Jen Psaki has come out openly saying, we are working with Facebook. We, the White House, has a team working with Facebook to censor misinformation about the two big no-nos that you can't talk about on social media. So now they're even admitting it, that they're working directly with the White House. All they're doing is just sidestepping the Constitution. They're trying to sidestep the Constitution. The Constitution says Congress shall make no law abridging free speech. So they're like, okay, well, we won't make a law through Congress. We'll just buy off all these tech companies, and we'll just abridge free speech that way. So those documents have come to the surface. We talked a long time ago about this, but this person that's going to come on has a lot more details on it than we've ever gone into, because to me, digging into the details is important, but at the same time, I don't like to dig into the details too much, because when I understand the premise, I understand the premise. There's no point. It's like, staring at the same picture all day long and looking at every single little pixel. On occasion, you'll find some interesting things, but if I understand something, I understand something. Like if I understand that the grass is green, I don't have to go look at every single blade. Some people, on the other hand, enjoy looking at every single blade, and then they find particular little pieces within the grass that actually connect to other things. So this person goes to those lengths to bring those details. So there was an operation called what was it called? Face log, I think is what it was. And we've known this ever since Facebook came out. But Face log was a DARPA operation. And our first show was about the H1N1 situation. Our second show was about DARPA. It was about Promise software that Edward Snowden was talking about. And it was talking about the D-Wave computer, which back then we were calling it something else. We weren't calling it D-Wave. I don't remember. I'd have to go back to our second show and listen to it. But that was way back in 2009. But we talked about how Facebook is for tracking, data mining, and feeding the AI. And feeding the AI everything about your personality. And this person came to the table and said, I've got a lot more details on this situation here. So we're going to go over that as well when we have this person on the show. But it was all funded by DARPA. It was all funded by the US government. And so that brings up the question, where does the line between private and government, where is that line? Where is that line drawn? If the government is funding a private entity, are they part of the government themselves? Are they working on behalf of the government? And if so, does that violate the First Amendment? Does that violate the Constitution? I would say yes, it does. And all this information is now becoming public knowledge, where only a few of us had it, like Facebook, for example. You know what a casebook is, right? A casebook is a file the CIA or FBI has on somebody. That's called a casebook. They call this thing Facebook. But what they do, according to this individual, and this lined up with some of our research from way back when, is they will go to several companies, and DARPA will say, all right, we have a project that we'd like to do. We'd like to create basically an online diary where people feel like they want to put their entire lives out there. We want them to be able to put pictures, videos, their opinions. We want them to feel comfortable and use this like a diary. Who can make the best project? And then you'll have several companies developing certain things, and whoever makes the best one will get the contract. In this particular case, Zuckerberg got the contract for this particular project to data mine and catalog everybody's lives. And many of you out there, including myself, have used Facebook just as that. I've been aware of this, so I've been, pretty conscious about what I put out there, even though I'm pretty open. And the reason I'm pretty open is because I already know they know everything about me. I'm not like, this is Insurgent X coming to you from an undisclosed location, broadcasting the super secret message to the resistance. You know, in the early 2000s, in the early 2000s, sure, maybe that would have been necessary, even though they already knew everything about everybody back then too. This technology is pretty old. But in 2021, they already know everything. That's why I'm like, I'm Chris Geo. I'm in fucking Las Vegas, Nevada. This is who I am. You want me? Come get me. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm not afraid of who I am. I'm proud of who I am. That's made me who I am. I'm not hiding behind a username. I'm not hiding behind a fake name. I don't hide my face. I don't do anything like that. I'm not scared of these motherfuckers. At the same time, I also understand they already know everything about me. They already know everything about that, Insurgent X fighting the fighting for the resistance, broadcasting from an undisclosed location. They know exactly who that person is. And I'm suspect of those people that hide their faces. I'm suspect of the people that don't use their real names. I'm suspect of all of that in 2021. Not saying that everybody who does that has something to hide, but at the same time, I'm suspect of them. Either A, they're scared. B, they don't fully understand the nature of the technology that we're using right now. Or C, they're hiding something because they're part of the other side. They're controlled opposition. And this person has been on Telegram a lot. Has been calling out a lot of controlled opposition people in there. And this person has told me Telegram is full of feds. It's full of feds. And it reminds me of the militia movements that were going on in the early 2000s to about 2010. And I remember a few of those people approached me at the very beginning of all this, when we first started doing podcasts and radio. And I guess it was my song Global Resistance, because I've seen that song taken and put over a bunch of militia videos, and that song Global Resistance sounds very militia oriented. But there's this old saying that if there's 3 militia guys in the room, you can bet that 2 of them are feds. And we've seen this same thing happen over and over and over again, where the feds will go find some retarded people, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that people who really have mental dysfunctions in their brain will coax them into doing something, will contrive a plan, have them go out and do something, and then set them up for it later. The most famous case of that is WTC 93, where the guy started to become suspicious about this whole situation that he was in and the people that he was around. So he started recording his interactions with these people, and these people were telling him, first he thought that they were just going to build a fake bomb, and then they were telling him, no, we're going to build a real bomb. We're going to build a real bomb, and then they wound up detonating it in 1993 at the World Trade Center, and all these recordings were released. In order for him to try to save his own ass, to show I wasn't a part of this, it was them that were pushing all of this. Judge Napolitano did a great thing on Fox News several years ago, 2011, 2012, something like that. And this was during the whole terror scare, from 9/11 up until about 2012, sometime around there. It was all about terror attacks. And Judge Napolitano was like, the FBI has foiled, 23 terror attacks in the last year, 22 of which they created themselves. They were involved in themselves. They were like sting operations. And they'll find some idiot that goes along with it, and he's surrounded by feds, and he's pushed in order to go do something. And then they call that, oh, look, we just saved the country from this terrorist attack over here, when it was all contrived by the feds. So Napolitano even pointed it out. But anyways, it's veering a little bit off point of how this video is going. Back to my point. My point is that Telegram, in my opinion, I don't like Telegram. It feels weird. This person's on Telegram a lot. A lot of people are on Telegram. But it feels like the old militia days, where it's like, all these people are fucking feds, man. Not all of them, but a lot of these people are fucking feds. And I see a lot of people promoting a lot of ideas that can prompt people to do something violent, or at least try to find the people who are prone to doing something violent. And it seems like it's contrived and it's on purpose. So be careful out there. And I don't like the whole idea that Telegram makes you put your phone number and your email address in there in order to be a part of it. I don't like that at all. And I suspect the same thing was going on with Parler as well. That there were people on there purposefully putting out misinformation, disinformation, purposefully rallying people to violence. And it's just like recently with this whole Trump reinstatement situation, one news outlet, I want to say it's CNN. CNN is always my go-to for fake news, you know, but like where my mind goes to. But it could have been MSNBC or something like that, so please don't quote me on this. But it was one article that I was reading that said, you know, we talked to one Trump supporter, and he said, if Trump's not reinstated on August 13th, there will be violence. There will be violence. And I'm like, number one, you don't have this on video. Number two, that sounds like a bunch of horse shit. And number three, how do we know this person's a Trump supporter? Number four, how do we even know this person is even real? And number five, how do we know this person even said it? All you're doing is just saying that this happened in a news article. It's like these quote-unquote anonymous sources. An anonymous source can tell you anything, you know? I mean, you know, statistics show that 99 out of 100 anonymous sources don't exist. And statistically speaking, 89% of all statistics is bullshit. So, you know, I'm making a joke there, obviously. I'm just saying, it just sounds like a bunch of contrived bullshit to me. But there are those that are looking for those idiots that are out there, you know, promoting one idea, promoting another idea, you know, and then using them and highlighting them. And, you know, if I can go off on a tangent for a second, it reminds me of this rave party that I was at in Houston in the year 2000. I don't remember the name of the rave, but it was at the Astro Hall. And this was the death of the 90s rave scene. And it happened in the year 2000. And it was right before 9/11, but this was the death. This was the one party that killed it. And what happened is the mainstream media was going in there with cameras. And rave parties back then were all ages. There was no problem. There was no curfew back then. There was in 2000, but the curfew didn't get implemented until like 1995 or something like that, or 1996. And at first I heard curfew and I was like, that's draconian. What the hell is this? Curfew? You know, for kids under 18. But the rave parties, then what they did is they shifted to, okay, well, if you're going to be here, you got to get here before midnight, and you can't leave until 6 unless your parents come and pick you up. They weren't letting, you know, 13 and 14-year-olds in there, but, you know, there were 15, 16-year-old. That's how old I was when I was in the rave scene, 15, 16, 17 years old, you know. But there was this one party in Houston, and you had all of these HPD outside. And the HPD at rave parties were typically hired as off-duty police. They were there to ensure there was no violence. They were asked, I don't know if they were asked verbally or if it was an unspoken thing, but they were asked to ignore any kind of controlled substance use, anything like that. And instead, Jesus Christ, man. 2 people in a row. Literally 2 people in a row. One text message, another person. It's like they can feel it. They can sense it. Oh my God. Anyways. So these rave parties in Houston, I was at this party at the Astro Hall. And the mainstream, and the police officers were asked to ignore anything that was going on and only focus on violence, which in my opinion, that's the type of police I support. You focus on violent crimes, you focus on property crimes, you do not fuck with people for non-violent crimes, you do not fuck with people for substances, you do not fuck with people for anything like that. If somebody's on a substance and they break the law, they're going to break the law. You know, that there's a law that's been broken in that case. But going after somebody for a substance is pre-crime, in my opinion, because there's been no crime committed. There's been no victim in the crime. But anyways, it's neither here nor there. The mainstream media was walking around with cameras, and they shined the fucking camera on me at that party, and I thought it was really strange. And I said, "Get that fucking camera out of my motherfucking face right now." They didn't show me in the footage, but I remember them coming around with the cameras and filming me. And I remember getting up in one of the cameraman's faces and saying, "Get the fuck out of here. What the fuck are you doing here? Get the fuck out of here and get that fucking camera and light out of my face." For two reasons. Number one, because we're at a fucking rave. Number two, I'm rolling my fucking balls off and I don't want a fucking spotlight blared right in my fucking face. Who the hell wants that? What happened is these dumbass kids were walking around with face masks. Because we used to wear face masks back in the day in the rave scene, and we would put Vicks Vapor Rub in there because when you're on Molly, that Vicks Vapor Rub opens up all the sinuses and everything like that, and you can dance a lot better, and it actually elevates the ecstasy feeling. So we wore face masks back then, which I found to be very strange. That now all of a sudden we're all walking around with face masks. I even have a freaking zit from the freaking face masks here. These motherfuckers with their fucking face mask mandates. Only for 14 days, though. Don't worry about it, motherfuckers. Anyways, so then they did this huge expose about how the police were not enforcing the laws, about how there were young kids there, 15, 16 years old, and what happens inside of these rave parties. Oh my God, all these kids are dancing and having fun and, doing mind-altering substances and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's always an ambulance outside in case anybody ever overdosed. Nobody ever overdosed until they put the precursor for MDMA on the watch list. And so these manufacturers started coming up with all kinds of shit, methadone and fucking PMA and, all this adulterated bullshit that feels a little bit like it, except for it feels like a weak dose. So the inclination is to take more and more and more and more, thinking, oh, maybe these pills are just weak, which then winds up an overdose. Because let's say MDMA overdose is up here, the overdose for the adulterants is down here. So you think you have a weak dose, you're going to take more and more and more. It's much easier to hit that overdose threshold. But it goes back to prohibition as well, where in prohibition they were purposefully, and this is openly admitted, tainting the materials used to make moonshine. So it wasn't the moonshine that was making people go blind. It was the stuff that the government was tainting the materials for moonshine with in order to deter people from making moonshine during Prohibition. It's the same bullshit that we're seeing right now. I veered off a little bit away from the points, but to bring it back full circle to what I was talking about here is I think things like Telegram, things like that are full of feds, and they're looking for people who think a certain way, or are willing to do certain things, who they can incriminate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So be really careful on that. But I don't know, I just don't vibe with Telegram. And a lot of this stuff seems like misinformation and disinformation purposefully put out. And this person that we're going to have on has been on Telegram a lot, and they've been calling out these people. And they've been getting kicked out of a lot of the Telegram groups for calling these people out for being controlled opposition. But we have controlled opposition all up and down this whole situation. So again, going back to Q, that's one of the reasons why I think Q is controlled opposition. Number one, we went over Operation Trust. Number two, and Operation Trust was in the Bolshevik Revolution. And if you look at the Q data, it's literally play for play, exactly the way they executed it during the Bolshevik Revolution. So this is a tactic that's been used before. Exact same thing, talking about mass arrest, talking about all of this. We were hit with that same disinformation from several different areas. Not only was it Q, but also the consciousness community was also hit with that same disinformation through Gaia TV, who I am 1000% certain now is controlled opposition. That's my opinion. But I am 1000% certain in my own consciousness that they are 100% controlled opposition, and at one point they were trying to recruit us. But we knew instinctively, do not get involved with these people. Even though that was my dream, to host Coast to Coast. It was my fucking dream. But when I heard what was going on at the time, my higher self jumped in and said, don't do this, don't do this. The only saving grace that I had in that situation, the only thing that made me walk away from my dream of hosting Coast to Coast, was the fact that George Norrie was trying to get out of his contract at the time. And that was the reason why they were looking for other hosts, and weekend hosts, and people like that, because George wanted to get out of his contract. I don't think he ever did. I think he's still doing it. Either that or he had it modified to a point to where it was amicable for him. But what happened is this guy who was Slavic or Ukrainian or something like that, he was going around and he was trying to buy he bought up Gaia TV, he bought up Coast to Coast. I don't know if he bought up Godlike Productions or not, but I know Godlike Productions was up for sale, and it was up for sale for like $850,000. He was trying to buy My Patriot Supply, and this is how I came across the information, because I was working for My Patriot Supply at the time, so I was privy to a lot of information and internal information. I'm not revealing anything, that's confidential, sensitive information about My Patriot Supply or anything, because My Patriot Supply didn't sell to this guy. The CEO, who's a good friend of mine, he was like, I'm not selling my company to this guy. There's something going on here. There's something strange. He's buying up Gaia. He's buying up Coast to Coast. He's buying up all these outlets. He's trying to consolidate as much as he can. Why is he so interested in my company? The reason he was interested in the company is because he was interested in the database of customers who were buying survival supplies. That's my working hypothesis. So all this happened around 2015, and we were pulled right in the middle of it and then got out. And during an ayahuasca experience, I saw two roads in front of me. One road was what I'm supposed to do, reset the matrix. I didn't see the resetting of the matrix part during that thing, but I just saw this journey in front of me. The other road led to a cage, but it wasn't a physical cage. It was a mental and spiritual cage. And Sherry and I started discussing, and this was reaffirmed to me when they would invite me onto Coast. And they would say, you're free to talk about whatever except for this, this, and this. Okay, no problem. I'm not really going to talk about that anyway, so no problem at all. But then Sherry was like, if we pursue this avenue, we're not going to be able to speak freely. We're going to have to interview all these people. We're going to be bound to... We're not going to be told what to say. That's not how it works. You're not told what to say, but you're told what not to say. And you're not even told what not to say, but if you say it, then there are repercussions. And this was further elaborated on Project Veritas. Forgive me for being redundant. I've talked about it in previous videos, but it's all coming together. There was a Fox Houston reporter that came out and said, this is the way it works. If you go outside of these parameters, it's an unspoken rule. And if you don't pick up on that rule on your own, then you get destroyed from the inside. You don't get featured. You start to get pushed further down into the chain until you finally just get frustrated and just quit. And I'm here to blow the whistle on all that. And she was saying that they're beholden to the advertisers, which again, I hear all these people on here saying, oh, this should be free, that should be free, etc., etc. You got a lot of free media out there. But they're beholden to their advertisers, because somebody's got to pay for it. So that's why we do our Patreon, patreon.com/btvtribe. We are beholden to our listeners, and that's it. tfrlive.com, our main source of funding comes from members. It doesn't come from advertisers. We have a few advertisers, but our main source of funding comes from our listeners, because we want to be beholden to our listeners, not beholden to advertisers. YouTube, Google, Facebook, etc. are beholden to the people that are funding them. The advertisers, the U.S. government, whoever is giving them money, they are beholden to. So, this was not only on Project Veritas, her testimony, but it was also undercover camera footage of them talking to other people at the same office who handle the marketing aspect of things, and the other people were confirming independently during these conversations, yes, this is how it works. The ad council, whose biggest contributor is the Center for Mind Control and Propaganda, which is what I've been calling them lately to avoid keywords and also realistically see through the illusion. They're not what they claim to be. They are the Center for Mind Control and Propaganda. They are the biggest contributor to the ad council. So because they're the biggest contributor to the ad council is the biggest advertiser on mainstream media. Because they're the biggest advertiser on mainstream media, you're not going to hear anything that goes against the advertising revenue when it comes to vacations, when it comes to anything like that. You're not going to hear anything negative about vacations. You're going to talk about vacations all the time. You're going to urge people to go out and get vacations, etc., 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 because you are appeasing the advertisers. And I've talked before, again, how they'll run stories that look like stories, but they're actually advertisements. Forgive me for being redundant. I'm going in a different direction than what I intended, but this is all like it's so transparent, and it's like 2020 vision all across the board now at this point. And then this going back to Pillowman, I thought, and Cherie thought, we were just going to hear the same thing that Giuliani presented, but no. This is deep. This is serious, and it's all been exposed. It has all been exposed, and the only question is what can be done about it. And the point that they brought up is that for every one of those fake ballets, that invalidates your ballet. If they dump 35,000 fake ballets into the system, that invalidates 35,000 genuine ballets. Everybody should be pissed off about that. Everybody should demand accountability. Everybody should demand the same security measures that we implement on money to ensure that money is not counterfeited. Everybody should be demanding the same kind of security measures on these ballets as well. Why are we not doing that? Why has that never come up? Because it was a massive dump. The difference is, to this day, people aren't trying to figure out where it came from. On this day, people know exactly where it came from. It came from China. Kiss the One You Love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be. This one a little bit longer than I intended, but about 40 minutes seems to be, the length of the shows that we get into here in the backyard. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it. I'm mad as hell. I'm mad as hell that this is covered up. I'm mad as hell that this was allowed to happen. I'm mad as hell that nobody's doing anything about it. I'm mad as hell that it is such a concerted effort by government, big tech, everybody is in on this. Everybody. And I think it's just like draining the swamp, Trump went in there to drain the swamp, and then he came back and he realized, holy shit, this isn't a swamp. This is a fucking ocean. This is every droplet of water in the world that is infected with this virus, that is in on this. And he was one man alone, surrounded by backstabbers, traitors, and people opposing him. Friends smiling and stabbing him in the back, saying, yes, we're going to move forward with something, and then turning around with their intentions of stonewalling him on purpose in order to hand it back over to the deep shit. Just call him the deep shit from here. Just a little bit of that symposium that I saw. I'm furious. Because this is robbing the entire world. It's robbing the entire world. And all these naysayers can sit back and say, "Oh, that's so 3D. Oh, that's so 3D." Well, guess what? When you go fill up your car, you tell me how fucking 5D it is. How much you've ascended beyond $5 a gallon. Tell me how much you've ascended when your rent goes up 40%. Tell me how much you've ascended when you go to the grocery store and now the $200 budget that you have for food buys you 1 week's worth of groceries instead of a month. You tell me how fucking ascended you are at that point. Tell me how far beyond you are from all this. And I'll tell you how full of shit you are. And why this is so fucking important. If I wanted to be egocentric, I wouldn't care whatsoever. I'm doing okay. You guys and gals out there are probably doing okay. We got patreon.com/BTV Tribe. That's funding BTV. We have iLife, which is flying off the shelf. So much so that we can't even keep up with the demand anymore. We're having to upgrade our staff. AYALife.com. That coupon code BTV Tribe, the buy one get one free coupon code, that's doing great. That's doing great. If I was egocentric, I'd be sitting back and going, well, sucks to be you guys. Not you, but all these naysayers out there. But I'm not egocentric. I understand. Not everybody is walking in their higher path. Not everybody out there is surviving and surviving in a comfortable manner, and their comfort levels are starting to decline and decline and decline and decline. And there's people out there who are starving. There's people out there without jobs. There's this person that I was just talking to was actually in Houston, and I haven't been there in decades. And she said, "Man, I drove by Houston. It's looking like fucking California." And I was like, "What part did you drive by?" She said, "Downtown." She says, "There's tents everywhere." And they've organized. They've created a tent city in Houston. We don't hear about this. We don't see pictures of this. But apparently this is what's going on. This is what's going on. I'm not supposed to feel that. I'm not supposed to be upset that's happening. I'm not supposed to be upset that we have to speak in code. I'm not supposed to be upset that we're being constantly censored, monitored, everything like that. I'm not supposed to be upset because my neighbor, who I was really good friends with, got kicked out of their house because they lost their job during this whole nonsense, and now that who knows what happened to them. I'm not upset because the person begging for money on the street isn't a drug addict, crackhead, nobody. Is somebody who lost everything due to all of this bullshit, and that's the reason why they're out on the corner begging on the street now. It's not because of their own mistakes, because that I will help somebody who wants help. I will help them get out of a bad situation. But there's people that make a lifestyle out of that, and those people I don't regard. I have no regard for. But now we have people on the corner begging who have lost everything, and they have no other choice but to go do that. And it's not because of a drug problem. It's not because of anything except for all this bullshit corruption that has happened and how everything was stolen from us. And you're telling me, as higher consciousness, I'm not supposed to be worried about that? I'm not supposed to be concerned about that? I'm not supposed to be empathetic to that? And that you, not talking to you, the audience, but you naysayers out there, oh, I live in a higher frequency. I got this one comment the other day, and she claimed to be a long-term listener, and I think she was. And this comment really bothered me. It really bothered me. She said something to the effect of, I was also worried about the 3D stuff for so long, but I just decided to just change my mindset. And now I feel so much better and elevated. I was in a very abusive and horrible relationship, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Keep telling yourself that. At least it's making you feel better. But I'm not worried about me. I'm going to be just fine. I'm not even worried about you guys and gals out there. Y'all are going to be just fine. I'm worried about the rest of them. Isn't that what we came here to do? We didn't come here to help ourselves. We came here to help them. If we were so worried about ourselves, we wouldn't even come here to begin with. So, kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be. I'm sorry. I always try to end it uplifting, maybe with a joke or something like that, but I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it. This is going on. This is the last fucking straw. I guess to try to end it with something positive, this is the last fucking straw. This has all been exposed. The who, what, when, where, and how has all been exposed. Now the only other question is, what are we going to do about it? I'm not talking about me and you. I'm not going to tell you things are bad. We know things are bad, worse than bad. I'm not going to tell you to go out in the streets and riot. I'm not going to tell you to call your congressman. I'm not going to tell you to do any of that because I don't know what to do. All I know is that it's time to get mad. You've got to say, I'm as mad as hell and I am not going to take it anymore. If they are going to present this evidence in court, smoking gun evidence, and the courts are going to come back and say, this is hacked information, so this isn't going to be offered into evidence. What kind of justice do we have? What kind of justice do we have? If we know for a fact, but they're saying it's hacked information. So, because it was hacked information, in my opinion, we're talking about government here. We're talking about government corruption. We're not talking about invading into an individual's privacy. We're not talking about hacking into an individual's computer. We are talking about government. And when it comes to government, that's we the people. Hacked information, in my opinion, is fucking bullshit when it comes to the government. Because the government is we the people. We have a right to that information. And if they're going to hold it from us, and we, quote unquote, hack it, that's our information. It doesn't work the other way around. They can't spy on us openly and come out with Edward Snowden, who, in my opinion, I don't know how I feel about him. I don't know if he's controlled opposition or not. I know what he's saying is true. I just wonder why he's saying it. Is it seriously because he wants to blow the whistle? Or is it because he wanted to flip the narrative, or his job was to flip the narrative from, does the NSA exist, and is the NSA spying on us too? Is it okay for the NSA to spy on us? They're trying to say it's okay for them to spy on us. But when we hack their information and reveal all their corruption, doesn't matter. It was obtained through hacking. Fucking bullshit, man. They tried that shit with Hunter Biden's laptop. And Hunter Biden's laptop was not hacked. Hunter Biden's laptop was left at a computer repair store. And after 30 days of being left at a computer repair store and attempting to contact the customer multiple times, that laptop then becomes property of the computer repair store. That was in the contract that Hunter Biden signed when he dropped off his laptop. So nobody hacked his information. His information belonged to somebody else because of his own failure to go pick up that laptop. Even Twitter's CEO came out and said, yeah, I apologize, we shouldn't have banned that for hacked information because it really wasn't hacked information, but they banned it long enough to be able to hide it from people. And I don't remember who it was, somebody was going around and asking Biden voters, if you knew all this, would you have voted for him? Hell no, I wouldn't have voted for him. Okay. That was the purpose. That was the plan. Because you can't sway, even with mail-in ballots, 99% going one way and 1% going the other way. That's why these every single selection, go and look at it. Go and look at it. Every single selection. 49 to 51. 49 to 51. Every single one. Every single one. The further you get away from 49 to 51, which they do deviate a little bit, the harder it is to put it in the direction that you want it to go to. If you've got 99 to 1, it is impossible. That's what happened in 2016. In 2016, they underestimated what the amount of tactics that they would have to employ in order to flip things in the direction that they wanted. They way underestimated it. Because realistically, Orange Man would have come out in a landslide annihilation. The only reason we saw the tallies the way they were is because they were supposed to be able to flip them the other way, but they put, here, this cup has this much water in it. You need this much in order to overturn it. They put that much in, but they didn't realize that they needed more to make it turn the other direction because of the amount, because they underestimated the size of the cup itself. They thought the cup was going to be this size, but the cup actually turned out to be a 1-gallon jug, and they didn't account for that. So we saw all the same tactics employed in 2016. We saw all the same tactics. They did everything. This time, they needed a way to ensure, and they kept on ensuring it throughout the nights. Throughout the night, they realized, shit, it's not enough. Shit, it's not enough. Shit, it's not enough. And there was a massive dump everywhere. And on this day, we know exactly where it's come from. Kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be. I'm sorry if I went in so many different directions, but yeah, this is bad. This is bad. It's a fucking banana republic now. Love you guys and gals.